early on, I used to draw a lot, right? So for me, I was drawing whatever I could see, like cartoons and making up stuff. And so she saw that, and I guess she fostered that by sending me to a program, an architectural program. So early on, that was my first exposure to something outside of sports. You know, a lot of times kids are just exposed to, especially in the inner city, they're just exposed to sports. But I was exposed to architecture. So she put me in that program, which was pretty cool. Um, I don't know if you want to get into that. That's a different story that I can take it to another level where uh, it was an interesting story as well. So I guess I'll talk about that a little later. But so that she actually, I stayed busy with sports. I stayed busy. Well, we're talking middle school here, so um, she allowed me to go out and hang out with my friends. But I mean, 6 p.m. come, you hear a call out of the window, telling me to come in for dinner. So that's one thing we did. We ate as a family. Obviously, it was just herself and myself, but every day she cooked dinner, and I had to come in at 6 to eat dinner, and then I was allowed to go back outside and do whatever. But she tried to make sure I stayed in the vicinity of my neighborhood, although I did venture out and, like I said, and got around some guys who weren't good influences, but we persevered.
Okay. Now, you got me pretty intrigued. What what happened with the architecture?
It's a shame that, but it's the same. It's something that we just have to discuss. The elephant always in the room is race, right? And so, being an African American, I was probably 13 at the time, and going to, downtown Pittsburgh at an event or program where I'm the only African American there. Um, and trying to learn something, and being intrigued and asking questions. Because I was intrigued. I was something I really wanted to do. I love to draw. I'd see structures around the city, and I was amazed at how they were built and constructed, and that's something I wanted to get into. However, the teacher, um, I'll never forget, he came to me and he was like, this is something that you probably wouldn't do good at. So, and as a kid, that wouldn't bother me as an adult, because we know better, right? We dream, we have aspirations. We're not going to let anybody deter us from our goals. But as a 13-year-old kid, a minority from the inner city, from the projects, the housing projects, it was tough and it crushed me. And I said, oh man, maybe I'm not good enough to be an architect. So who knows where my life would have been? But ever since that day, I never thought about becoming an architect, all based off of what he told me.
Interesting. And you're an educator
Yes.
and dealing with children. How has that affected your approach with how you deal with them?
Oh, it definitely approached me. Words hurt. You know the saying, "What sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt." Absolutely, they hurt. You know, no matter what people say. I mean, people can mask the pain, but in actuality, words do hurt, and so you have to be careful what you say to anybody, whether it's in a relationship. You can never take something back, right? So, especially in the school system. So, I try to be as positive as possible, uplifting, right? To show kids that they can make it no matter their circumstances. I grew up in the same circumstances as you, and I was able to make it as well. So, and come out of that situation. So, absolutely. I mean, I would never, I've heard situations where educators, and even you hear, if you listen to a lot of rappers, one of the biggest gripes in their songs when they talk about their teachers, or their teachers said they would never amount to anything. I can't understand how a teacher would say that to a child, no matter how much of a headache that child is. I've taught plenty of kids who I probably would thought that, man, I don't know about this one right here. However, You never say it. You always uplift. And then whatever they're good at or trying to become good at, you encourage it, right? Because that's their dreams, and you don't want to kill anybody's dreams.
So you're a father right now,
Yes,
3 children, right?
correct.
How have all of these experiences, whether from the different things with your parents, whether from the different things with different teachers, how have these affected how you are as a father today?
Good question. It has definitely taught me a lot. I'll say it has taught me that to for one, not to be like my father, right? I think some of the challenges of becoming a father are one, not for at least for me, well, not knowing if a police officer is going to harm my son for no reason. My son is 25 now; he just turned 25 last week, and that's something we need to, that I think all fathers are and mothers, right, are afraid of, right. Uh, Something else would be how it affected me would be, sometimes you have a feeling like you're a failure, right? So what I mean by that is, you know, I'm divorced, right? So I left my spouse, right? So feeling like you're a failure because you're not in a two-parent household, um, that could be detrimental as a father as well. Um, Also, like feeling that you're failing God, so that you feel that you're not worthy enough to be a father, right? Um, and so those things right there have enabled me to really think about why I am uh, the way I, you know, how to become a better person. Like, I think you learn from your situations, you learn from your mistakes, you learn from watching other people as well. Like I see how, like I said, like I said earlier, like how my father he was actually there. He would come around, but he never did anything with me. So being more intentional, right? So being more intentional to be in my son's life. My son, I played baseball, like I said, my whole life. My son played baseball, but I was there. I was at the batting cages with him every day. I hired uh, somebody who used to play professional baseball to train him, 3 times a week, and even I was, because I was in a different state. I actually was living in Arizona at the time. I actually moved back to Virginia, where he is, to make sure that I was an integral part of his life when he started high school. So yeah, you're being more intentional, because men are supposed to be providers, right? So um, sometimes that means not being able to be there physically as you want to be, and, and that could be challenging as well, right? Because you want to do the things with the child, but you have obligations. You have to make sure there's food on the table. You have to make sure that the mortgage is paid, right? And so sometimes that means you're not there physically. So being more intentional in your mind and say, you know what, I need to take a break so I can spend more time with my child, even though the end game is, to make sure they're okay. You still have to be present in their life. Also, I look at my family, even my grandmother as well as my father. They're not good communicators. So guess what? I'm not a good communicator, right? So even though I think I'm a good communicator, when actuality, when you talk or speak to good communicators, they're like, you know what, Fred, you're really not a good communicator. So becoming a good communicator, that could be that was a challenge for me as well. In the beginning, you want to connect with kids, since you know, you didn't connect with your father, right, per se.